I always thought dolls were just toys, harmless. But the one I found in my grandmother's attic, it was different. I heard it crying at night, soft and sad, until I leaned in closer and heard it laugh. That's when everything changed. That's when the nightmares began and never stopped. If you think you're brave enough, stay till the end. But don't watch this alone. And whatever you do, never ignore a doll that laughs. I wasn't even planning to go up there that night. The attic had always given me weird vibes, like the air was heavier, older, almost like it was holding its breath. But something pulled me in. Maybe it was boredom, maybe it was curiosity, maybe it was something else. The door creaked like it hadn't been opened in years, and honestly, I don't think it had. Dust floated in the flashlight beam as I climbed up the narrow stairs. The air was thick, musty, and cold, even though it was warm downstairs. I started looking around. Old furniture covered in sheets, boxes labeled with faded ink, stacks of newspapers from decades ago. Then I saw it, a trunk pushed into the far corner, half covered by a moth-eaten quilt. It wasn't locked. The latch groaned when I opened it, and the smell that came out was stale, like time had been sealed inside. I started pulling things out, old sepia-tone photographs, brittle letters tied with string, a few wooden toys with chipped paint. Then buried beneath some yellowed lace, I saw her, the doll, porcelain, small, almost too clean for something that had been in a dusty attic for who knows how long. Her dress was white, untouched, her skin pale as bone, glassy eyes that stared just a second too long when you looked at them. And that smile, a faint crack ran across her lips like it had been forced into place, like it was never meant to be there. I don't know why I didn't leave her there. Maybe I felt sorry for her. Maybe I wanted to show someone. I picked her up, and for a moment I swear she felt warm in my hands. I took her downstairs. And that was my first mistake. I set the doll on the shelf in the living room, between some old books and a dusty candle holder. It didn't seem threatening, just odd. I figured it was just another relic from my grandmother's weird collection. That night, I almost forgot it was even there. Almost. I was dozing off when I heard it, a soft sound, faint but sharp enough to snap me awake. It was like crying, not loud, not dramatic, just this quiet, pitiful sobbing. At first, I thought it was a neighbor or maybe a cat outside, but when I looked out the window, the street was empty, dead quiet, still. I brushed it off, told myself it was the wind or maybe the old house settling, but it came back the next night. Same time, same sound, a soft, broken weeping. This time it was closer, inside the house. I followed the sound into the living room, but by the time I got there, it had stopped. The doll was still on the shelf, staring, still smiling. I moved her to a drawer. The next morning she was back on the shelf. I thought maybe I was just forgetting things. Maybe I moved her and didn't remember. I started doubting myself. I even laughed it off. But the crying didn't stop. And I swear, it started to sound less like sadness, more like someone trying to pretend they were sad, like mocking it. By the end of the week, I wasn't sleeping well. I'd wake up randomly, heart racing, like someone had been watching me. Once I swear I saw something move out of the corner of my eye. Just a flicker, a shadow, and every time I looked, every single time, the doll's eyes were already there, waiting for me. I needed answers. I couldn't keep brushing this off like it was in my head. The crying, the way she kept ending up in places I didn't leave her, it was getting to me. So I went back to the attic. I figured if this doll belonged to my grandmother, maybe there was something up there, anything that could explain it. I started going through boxes more carefully this time. Folders, letters, old birthday cards. Nothing unusual at first, but then I found a small leather-bound journal tucked between some blankets, like it was meant to stay hidden. The handwriting was delicate, neat, definitely my grandmother's. The first few pages were normal. Grocery lists, notes about the garden. Then I saw a name, Margaret. I didn't know anyone in the family named Margaret, so I kept reading. The entries got darker. Margaret won't stop crying at night. She says the doll talks to her when no one else is around. I told her to stop making up stories, but I heard it too. That stopped me cold. She wrote about a porcelain doll she bought for her younger sister Margaret, a gift. But after their parents died, Margaret started to change, became withdrawn. Said the doll whispered to her, laughed when she cried. And then she was gone, drowned in the pond behind their house. They said it was an accident, but my grandmother never believed it. The final entries were barely legible, shaky, paranoid. It laughs when I'm alone. It knows I lied. Do not listen to the laugh. I closed the journal and just sat there staring at the wall. The house felt colder, heavier. I realized I had brought that same doll, the one in those pages, back into this house, into my life. And maybe it had never truly left. I tried to convince myself it was just an old story. My grandmother was grieving, young, probably scared. Maybe she wrote those things in some kind of trauma. But deep down, I didn't believe that anymore. Not after what happened next. It was just past 3 a.m. The crying woke me up again, but this time, it was different. Not sad, not broken. It was quiet at first, like before, but there was something in it. Something off. The pitch was wrong. Too high. It didn't sound like someone crying anymore. It sounded like someone pretending to cry. Badly. I got up. I didn't want to, but I had to. I followed the sound into the hallway, heart pounding like a drum in my chest. My hands were shaking, and I couldn't stop thinking about what was written in that journal. The sound led me to the living room. The crying stopped as I stepped in. Dead silence. I turned on the light. The doll was sitting in the middle of the rug, upright, facing me. I hadn't touched it. I walked closer. I don't know why. Every part of me wanted to run, but something else kept me moving forward, step by step. I knelt down, staring at her face, those glassy eyes, that cracked smile. I leaned in, just a little, and then I heard it. Not crying, laughing. It was low at first, like a whisper slipping through gritted teeth, but it grew louder, like it was right in my ear. Raspy, sharp, like something ancient trying to mimic a child. I froze, couldn't breathe, couldn't move. And the worst part, her lips never moved. She just stared, smiling, like she'd been waiting for me to finally hear her. After that night, nothing felt normal anymore. The house, my house, turned against me. Lights would flicker for no reason. I'd hear footsteps in the hallway when I was the only one home. Doors would slam randomly, hard enough to shake the walls. I checked the windows, the vents, everything. There was no explanation. The doll? She stopped staying in one place. I'd leave her in the closet, taped shut, and hours later she'd be sitting at the kitchen table, or on my bed. Once I opened the fridge and she was just there, like she wanted to be found, like she was waiting for my reaction. I stopped sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd see her face. That cracked little smile burned into my brain. My dreams twisted, vivid, brutal, like memories that weren't mine. I'd see the attic, but it wasn't dusty anymore. It was clean, bright, like it used to be. I'd see a little girl crying in the corner. Then the doll crawling toward her, slow, patient, smiling wider and wider. And every time I tried to wake up, I'd hear the laugh, that horrible, scraping laugh. Sometimes I'd wake up in a different room than I fell asleep in. Once I woke up outside on the porch, barefoot, freezing, holding the doll in both hands. I don't remember getting there. I tried recording everything, audio, video, even live streaming. Nothing ever picked up the sounds, the crying, the laughter. Not once, but I knew it was happening. I felt it in my bones. The only constant was her. That stupid porcelain smile and those unblinking eyes. She wasn't just haunting the house, she was starting to haunt me. And I don't think she planned on stopping. I hit my limit the night I found the doll in the shower. Curtains closed, lights off, just sitting there like she was waiting for me to turn around. I dropped everything and left the house. Drove for hours with no destination. Just away. I couldn't take another night of it. That's when I decided to find help. Not a therapist, I knew this wasn't in my head. I needed someone who dealt with things like this. I found a local paranormal investigator. His name was Carl, older guy, calm in a way that made you think he'd seen some stuff. I didn't tell him much, just asked if he'd come take a look. He didn't even blink, said he'd be over the next day. Carl walked through the house like he'd done it 1,000 times, said the air felt off, whatever that meant. He stopped in the attic for a long time, quiet, just stood there with his hand on the wall. Then he asked, "You moved something from up here, didn't you?" I nodded, didn't say what. He asked to see the doll. When I brought her out, he stepped back. Just one step, but I saw it. Fear. He didn't touch her. Said the energy around her was residual but thick, like something had been feeding off emotion for a long time. "You shouldn't have taken her out of the attic," he said. "She's attached now." I asked what that meant. He didn't answer right away, just looked at me and said, "If it laughs again, don't answer. Don't speak. Put her back. Seal the attic. Don't try to fix it. Just leave it alone." I wanted to believe that would be enough, but deep down I knew it wasn't. I waited a full day before I could even bring myself to touch her again. Carl's words kept echoing in my head. "She's attached now." The idea of going near her made my skin crawl, but the laugh had started again. Only now, it wasn't just at night. It was any time I was alone, in the bathroom, in the car. Once I heard it faintly when I was brushing my teeth, behind me, so I did what he said. I took the doll back up to the attic. I didn't even look at her face. I just wrapped her in the same old lace I'd found her in and shoved her back in the trunk. My hands were trembling. Every step felt like I was being watched, judged. I was about to close the trunk when I heard it. The laugh, not soft this time, not distant. It was loud, sharp, like a shriek, right in my ear like someone was whispering straight into my skull. I staggered back. The room was spinning. I couldn't breathe. Then, she moved. The doll's head turned. Just a little, but enough. I didn't imagine it. I froze, locked eyes with her glassy stare. Her mouth stayed still, but I could feel her laughing, not out loud, inside my head, like she was crawling into my thoughts, peeling them open, feeding on the fear she'd spent weeks building. Behind me, I caught a glimpse of the mirror hanging on the attic wall. I looked, just for a second, and what I saw wasn't me. It was a little girl, holding the doll, grinning. I slammed the trunk shut, locked it, bolted the attic door, and for the first time in weeks, I prayed it was over. But something told me it wasn't. For a while, things were quiet. No more laughter, no crying, no footsteps. The air in the house felt lighter, like it finally let out a breath it had been holding for years. I started sleeping again. Eating. I even laughed at a show one night. It felt like life was stitching itself back together. Weeks passed, then months. I almost convinced myself it was over. But here's the thing. When something attaches itself to you, really, truly connects, it doesn't let go just because you walk away. It waits. It studies. It becomes part of the silence, the routine. You don't hear it anymore, but it hears you. Last night, I was going through some old storage boxes in the garage, clearing things out. Just normal stuff. I opened one that had some of my grandmother's old things, and right on top, sitting perfectly centered, was a photograph I had never seen before. Black and white, faded. It was my grandmother as a child, standing next to a girl, Margaret, and in Margaret's arms, the doll, same cracked smile, same dress, same glassy eyes, only this time, the smile wasn't cracked. It was wide, whole, like it had healed. That's when I heard it. Just faint, behind me. Not crying, not laughing. This time, it whispered. My name. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. Because deep down, I knew she wasn't locked in the attic anymore. She had never really been locked away. She was already inside,